Just because next season has a lot of returning powerhouses like Frieren, Oshinoko, Jujutsu Kaisen, and Fate, doesn't mean it won't have a lot of new isekai and fantasy too. Among this bona fide season of Titans, almost 20 additional fantasies, some isekai and some not, will be airing alongside them to remind us of what the normal is. Of course, there's a few standouts that will shine above the rest, but with a number like 20, expect more isekai cheat skills instead of Frieren's. That said, with Frieren Season 2 leading the rest as winter 2026's most anticipated, at the very least we have one of the highest quality fantasies to fall back on. Also returning is the comedic series 'Tis Time for Torture Princess, that wholesome comfort anime that portrays the absurd twist on fantasy captivity. Expect more variations on the cozy and delicious tortures this anime is known for. Finally, we have Tensura's Tears of the Azure Sea movie, another fully canon anime original feature just like the previous Scarlet Bond movie. This one takes place right after the Tempest Federation's opening festival, having Rimuru and his crew travel to the private island resort of the Elven Empress herself. It's a fully isolated story not related to the main anime's plot, but I'm sure it'll develop characters that'll be relevant to Season 4, which, if you didn't know, was confirmed for at least 60 episodes. That's right, Season 4 is 5 total cores split between who knows how many seasons. So, if you're a fan of Tensura and can't wait to see more, it looks like we've got plenty more to come for the foreseeable future. Moving on to the new anime now, first we have Fate Strange Fake, the new installment into the Fate franchise I like to call the American Holy Grail War. For those who have watched Fate before, you already know this is gonna be hype. But for those who haven't and want to try to know more, I'll be making a beginner's guide right before this comes out, so be sure to subscribe with notifications on if you want to see that. The other series I'll be focusing on is Sentenced to be a Hero, the upcoming dark fantasy from the same animators of the best episodes of Mushoku Tensei. This I've already made 2.5 videos on, so if you want to know why exactly this could turn out to be the best anime this season, I would definitely go and check those out. To quickly summarize here though, there's a lot of talent behind it, the quality looks very much outstanding, and the source material is a grim fantasy that subverts the traditional power fantasy tropes. It's a world where being a hero is a life sentence, death is nothing but a revolving door, and every victory just reinforces the corrupt system that keeps those heroes fighting there forever. It's by far the anime I'm looking forward to the most this season. To finally get to some isekai now, this is There Was a Cute Girl in the Hero's Party So I Tried Confessing to Her, a fantasy rom-com that takes place within the backdrop of a classic heroes versus demons setup. Our main character had died and reincarnated as an overpowered demon, but rather than strive to become the Demon Lord, he instead settles and stays a low-tier guardian for the Demon Lord. One day, the hero party comes to attack, and it's here he falls in love with their priestess. So, after defeating the party, healing them, and sending them back, our protagonist also takes this opportunity to confess his feelings, resulting in this interesting dynamic between two characters on opposite sides of the conflict. The world isn't anything unique, but perhaps this unlikely relationship could be. Next we have Hell Mode. The hardcore gamer dominates in another world with garbage balancing. This is a world where games like Dark Souls don't really exist anymore, so with our main character seeking a new one that would challenge him as much as that, he stumbles upon an invite-only game that's supposedly just that. Naturally, he accepts, and after choosing the hardest difficulty of Hell Mode, the next thing he knows he's reborn into another world as a serf. The absolute lowest position in society with no money, no influence, and no protection. All he has is his mysterious summoner class, and with that our protagonist will have to climb his way to the top the hard way. It's a series that does exactly what it promises. A hardcore gamer lives a hardcore life. In a similar vein, there's this season's villainous anime, coming in the form of the villainess is adored by the prince of the neighbor kingdom. Our protagonist reincarnates as the villainess in her favorite otome game, fated to meet the expected end of exile and ruin. That is until the neighboring prince comes in and proposes to her, upending the original game's plot and giving our villainess a chance for a different future. So, it's fairly standard as far as villainous anime go, it just has that one additional element of the foreign prince. This is Isekai Office Worker. The other world's books depend on the bean counter. There's nothing particularly new in this one, other than the isekai protagonist wanting to have a job rather than be an adventurer. Since he technically wasn't the one the kingdom was even trying to summon, in an effort to compensate him, they allow him to become their accountant. Turns out he's actually really good at that, and that in turn attracts the attention of a lot of influential people. So it's him navigating this noble landscape while also being highly coveted. Oh, and it's also a yaoi. Here we have a gentle noble's vacation, a laid-back isekai where it's a fantasy nobleman who gets isekai'd. That means the new world isn't very much different from his own, but rather than strive for rank or figure out a way back to his old world, he instead treats the whole thing as a vacation for himself. He hires an adventurer to be his tour guide, and together the two explore what this new world has to offer. It's a series that probably doesn't even need to be an isekai, but I guess we're using it as a plot device for everything now. The same goes for this next one, a lengthy isekai by the name of Easygoing Territory Defense by the Optimistic Lord. Production magic turns a nameless village into the strongest fortified city. This is a story of a young reincarnated aristocrat who, with the knowledge of his past life and some magic that can craft items out of anything, is considered a prodigy up until it's found out that he can't use combat magic. This results in him being banished to a frontier town, a place where he's fully expected to fail. Well, just as the title states, our protagonist uses his knowledge and magic to make the city thrive, creating for an anime that's heavily focused on the city building aspect of it. So I imagine that if you liked Realist Hero, then you'll probably end up liking this one too. Now, last of the isekais is reincarnated as a dragon hatchling, a very Tensura-like premise in which our protagonist starts out as an egg then evolves into various stronger forms of dragon. There's not much else to say than that, so if you like that zero to hero come up, then this is it in the form of dragon. Moving on to the straight up fantasies now, first we have Jack of all trades, Party of none. Another kicked out of the hero party anime where a swordsman turned enchanter is expelled from his group for being, well, useful at everything but great at nothing. It's funny cause he switched to enchanter just to fill in a gap that the hero party needed, but even after doing that, he still got labeled useless anyway. So it's when our protagonist sets out as a solo swordsman again that the skills he gained while being an enchanter synergize well with him. He's the wielder of such an unconventional set of skills that he doesn't even need a party anymore. It's tough to say what exactly about this will stand out, but apparently the world is very fleshed out. That and the way an enchanter can really support in battle. So if you're looking for a classic action fantasy, then this would be it. Next we have Noble Reincarnation, born blessed so I'll obtain the ultimate power. Our main character is the 13th Prince, a 6-year-old reborn with an infinite level cap and a cheat skill allowing him to wield any of the abilities of those under him. This makes him incredibly overpowered, but unlike other power fantasies where the reborn child is quirky and awkward, this one here is completely stoic. He's a more serious protagonist, making his approach to conflict a lot more pragmatic. So this is more the type of power fantasy I'm interested in, since despite the very overpowered main character, the stakes seem high regardless. This is Kunon the Sorcerer Can See, a fantasy drama centering around a blind mage hoping to discover magic that can help him see. This means the series is very much about magic and the process of learning it, creating a slow life narrative with Kunon at its center. He'll excel in the magic he's trying to study, attract attention from powerful magicians and royalty, and even move up in the world because of it. When it comes down to it though, the main question is, will he ever find the answer that he's really searching for? Will he ever discover magic that will finally allow him to see? That's pretty much that, so with a premise that's definitely unique but a bit more on the slow side, this probably won't be a show for everyone. Now, before we had a yaoi-themed isekai, so it's only natural we get a yuri-themed fantasy. This one's a bit more dark though, as it's literally called Roll Over and Die. I will fight for an ordinary life with my love and cursed sword. Our main character is by divine decree chosen to join the hero's party despite having literally zeroed out stats. This then turns out exactly as you'd expect, so when she's inevitably kicked out of the hero party, she's also sold into slavery too. Eventually she finds herself thrown to the monsters and left to die, her only hope a cursed sword which awakens the untapped potential within her. So with new power and a strong will to live, our protagonist can now fight back to attain the normal life she yearns for. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm usually a sucker for grimdark fantasies like this, so I'm hoping that they really lean into that aspect of it. Something a bit more lighthearted is an adventurer's daily grind at age 29. Our protagonist lives a quiet life taking on modest quests in a rural village, up until he comes across an orphaned girl in a dungeon. He ultimately decides to take her in, changing his daily grind from one of modest adventuring to one with a lot more responsibility. So it's a slice of life fantasy with little bits of adventure and themes of found family. Perhaps a decent feel-good anime in between all the others. Another feel-good anime is The Demon King's Daughter is Too Kind, a series focusing on exactly what the title states. The Demon King has a daughter way too kind to be his heir, so when he tries to train her to be evil and ruthless, the challenges set up for her are always solved with compassion and good intentions, making this about as wholesome of a story as it gets. Finally, we have Champignon Witch, a typical slice-of-life fantasy centering around a witch feared due to her condition that spawns poisonous mushrooms around her. All she wants is to live a normal life, but due to her condition she can't. So the story focuses on her struggle as she has to deal with both prejudice and loneliness. It's a character drama mixed with a bit of romance. Of course, there's some other fantasies like Dark Moon and The Case Book of Arn, but those are more modern and deal with vampires and the supernatural. As for some of the non-fantasy anime worth watching, there's The Holy Grail of Eris, which is a genuinely entertaining political mystery through and through. There's the action-filled adaptation of the sci-fi manhwa Terror Man, then the modern-day heroes vs. demon lords by the same man who wrote Sentenced to be a Hero, Scum of the Brave. That's pretty much it for winter 2026 though, so let me know which of these that you're most interested in. Like I said before, I'll be covering Sentenced to be a Hero weekly, as well as doing servant profiles for Fate Strange Fake whenever possible. So if you want to see those, then be sure to subscribe. Until next time though, ciao!